Jadaga Itatimo, Nume Cabio, let Lurgan in a cat, Cathila de Gala, Basa Diller, Nume Piato Tago, when in away the Miller, Batagala, by that. Copy your dobby, but daughter put daughter Kurat alone. The money away, but the lady Hataki, Lord Corner, away, Utila Lakini, Puedo Tasumo Sumayo. My le away Tasuta Nadaga Focone, hey, you had to Lord Corner away, but there Cosso Doramo, away, show your letter to Paji. I've got show your letter to Pa. I've got pay Mangahaki, away table lawyer, the dollar Ta or or less Miller Sertom, the Kitty Pocket off on a. Had 2 or Tobo, or a heap lawyer.
Burma, called Myanmar by the dictatorship, is home to an estimated 55 million people. It is an amazing mosaic of all the world's major religions and almost all of mainland Asia's cultures.
What they want is very simple, peaceful. Sometimes we talk about peace, to build peace. But actually in the community, already peace, if the outsider did not come and threaten them to come to them. They already, peace already, already there. The spirit is already there.
Burma was once the rice basket of Asia. It's a country that's very wealthy in resources, oil, gas, minerals. It's lying right on a trade route between China and the world, the famous Burma Road. Everybody wanted a piece of this land. Britain came for the teak originally. They stayed to counter the French influence in that region. Japan came for the oil because they had a war to fight and they had none of their own, although the British destroyed much of the oil fields on their way out. China came for influence and power in Southeast Asia, and so of course the United States had to come right behind to keep an eye on China. And so for decades it was like this. Outsiders fought their games on Burmese soil until everything was in ruins. Burma had a lot of challenges after the war. They had been bombed flat by both sides. There were ethnic divisions opened up depending on who fought for what side. They were expected to pay Britain back for the cost of the war. And so it was very difficult to get their parliament established, to get their economy going. At the same time, they had these restless generals waiting in the wings who had been trained by the Japanese army and schooled in fascism. And so this was just a big recipe for trouble. Out of the rubble of World War II, they built a parliament, they had universities, a free press, movie theaters, normal life.
Raising of the standards of the living of the people and the totalitarian method seem to promise, on the surface at any rate, a shortcut towards these goals. But our leaders were wiser. Perhaps they were wiser because the British taught us some of the values, some of the ideas which they themselves believed in, but which they probably did not bother to apply to us, all the way anyway. But these people, our leaders, decided once and for all that they would choose democracy and that they would probably have to work harder, but that in the long run, in the interests of the people and of our country, over a longer period, democracy was their cup of tea, that they would choose democracy.
Burma has a very literate society. It has a rich tradition as well, not just of literature, but even of news and even of free expression. So that's very important to remember. And the Burmese journalists, whether inside or outside, understand that. Given the restrictions, there are ways that they can communicate with their people.
I was a university student at the time in 1988. Before 88, I was also underground because of we were publishing any anti-government leaflets. You take a bus, you throw them from the bus, and speedy bus. We can also run away from informers or intelligence. We go to bathrooms and where you can just stick them with the glue and people can read it. And before seen by the informers or spies or secret police. That's how we do it. It was quite risky. You're looking at 7 years or 10 years. You're looking at 20 years in prison for publishing, for distributing such leaflets and statements.
They do see censorship as a cat and mouse game where they will always be one step ahead of the censors.
In 1999, Nico became a refugee in Thailand. Now he and his video team are returning to the country they fled. Their plan is to document conditions in remote ethnic villages. Many of the team members are young and eager for adventure. They will learn that the stakes are high.
So if Burmese troops or Burmese soldiers catch you, they can kill you anytime. No? They don't like someone to report what happened in the village, what they did to the villagers. So very dangerous. Even you are a local people, it's dangerous for you, and if you are a foreigner, it's worse. So Kwe Ka Lu office is here, so they have to move. Firstly, we fled deeper to the other areas now, but later we cannot set up our office anymore because there's no security. All Burmese troops occupy the areas here, so we have to cross to Thailand.
When I was arrested by then, I feel a little bit nothing. But when I stayed in the detention, I feel a little bit sad because some are with their babies and the babies are crying, and then some are hungry. They got very high fever and then so very, very hard. And then when I look at this one, I really want to write about this and then to let other people know about this. That's why I decided to go and then attend the journalism school. Yeah, when I attend the journalism school, and then I learned a lot what the media, how the media work. How can we survive with the media? Yeah, I learned a lot from journalism school. Being a journalist is good, but on the other hand, also risk, a lot of risk. Yeah. Even sometimes when you write about politics, you have to be very, very careful with this one. Sometimes you have to report the truth. You have to write about the truth.
After days of walking through dense jungle, the Burma Issues team comes across a small settlement. Nico lends a hand with the harvest. His team members try out their cameras.
It's a human instinct to share information, and it's true for Burma.
We started this literature group, and we invited very famous writers, journalists, almost every other week for discussion. It was illegal, and we were watched, but we discussed literature. But it's unavoidable that you you came down to discuss politics. So, for instance, we also invited, I still remember the last session I attended was U Win Tin, the one who was in prison for 19 years. I was with a school bag at the time. Inside there are anti-government leaflets, I still remember, about to be distributed.
With regard to the international community, my message remains what it has been all along. Please support the struggle for democracy in Burma in every way you can.
We enjoyed a brief press freedom. Between August, September, before military coup, I mean, hundreds of, I think, publications being published. I mean, you can just grab them, buy them on the streets. I think the press freedom back to Burma, you could just see that. I was very happy. I was on the streets every day with friends and colleagues. But you don't see it for years, for ages. Such journalism, photos, the front page stories are all about the uprising. A very objective way, not just one-sided. I was very impressed, but it was rather short-lived. We were quite young, we were very naive, we thought that the regime would collapse. Anyway, despite of the coup, which is not sustainable, we thought it's going to collapse sooner or later. We were wrong.
Here we are at Kwe Ka Lu. Last night they burned it out. 75% of the homes were taken down. It's a war zone. And we just came here today to see. Three-quarters of the camp have been burned to the ground. We're going to walk through it and take different pictures. But miraculously, the Lord had no loss of lives in this camp. But now there are 10,000 homeless. The horrors of war.
I was joined a soldier for 2 years, the Korean resistance group. I gave a training for one of our membership founder called Max Edica. Max gave a training, community organizing training. So I start to think about that when you fight for your people, or fight for liberty, or fight for your rights, there are not only the one way, there are alternative way to fight for that, to struggle for that.
The first camera, the first video started in 1993. It's called Burma Deception. And then follow up the Faces of Burma. For Burma Deception, we use like big camera, a little bit like the, I don't know, like television camera.
Video is very powerful. I have screening in the India one time. People say we don't know before. We may know, but we don't feel something. When they saw the video, shoot on sight, they feel in something.
Once a village has been destroyed, troops do not leave the area. They patrol searching for the villagers and hidden food stores to destroy.
Weeks later, Nico and his team are deep inside the conflict zone. They approach a village that was attacked by the Burma army just hours earlier. A group of ethnic rebels sweeps the area. Finally, they give the all clear and the team presses on. Meanwhile, other underground journalists are working far away in Burma's cities.
Mizzima was found by a tree Burmese living in India, and they just started with a laptop. So Mien was main founder, and he and then they all and went out. They three. They didn't have office. They just have a laptop. They have to carry to the telephone booth to connect internet and send it through internet to mainly the listserv. They didn't have a website as well.
I'm working as a tour operator in Burma, and as well as the tourist guide in Burma. Then I'm shift my career to journalist. When the months come to Sule, quite close to my office, every day I go there. And when I get back to my office, I use TikTok chatting, and I tell Sengwin what happened and where it's happening. I also joined the protesters, and I had to Sule. Sule at that time, the soldiers start gunshot, and then I have to run back to my office, and then I also tell Sengwin about what happened here, what I'm facing, what I saw.
I talked to a Burmese journalist, and he said after the Saffron Revolution, in fact during the Saffron Revolution, when they were calling journalists in and interrogating them and so on, one senior journalist was actually asked in the interrogating room, how is this information getting out? How is this video getting out? And he said, he looked at them, he said, you're totally clueless, and you're totally clueless about the internet.
We started only with a commitment. We didn't know what the journalism, what is the ethic. But only in 2003, I went to Cambodia for advanced journalism training. Actually, I didn't have any basic training, but started with advanced training.
Mostly my learnings are self-learning. I live with my computer. I have to say my computer only have chance to stop working when I sleep. It was clearly hacked, and our site was appear a graphic that says some people don't like we are reporting the truth of the Burma situation. We can confirm that it's from servers from Russia, Hungary, and from India. They are mainly from those servers, but we don't know exactly who are behind the attack. People who don't want us to expose the truth situation of Burma to the world.
In the jungle, the Burma Issues team teaches villagers the basics of filming and interviewing. They will leave behind pocket-sized cameras for them to use. Here, there is no internet. The video will be carried out on foot.
When you cross the border, you have to cross very secretly, and then you have to pay like 500 baht, just cross the small river. For me, it's difficult to travel around, and I cannot go anywhere. Sometimes I have to afraid of Thai police. They can send me back anytime. After I worked at the market for 1 year, and then I used to work at another shop. They selling clothes. When I worked there, and I met the Shan guy who is working in the Shan community, and then he asked me whether you're interested to work with him or not. I said yes. He's working on radio broadcasting in Thailand in Shan language. I start from intern in Images Asia at video editing. They call it learning by doing, and I was working on editing documentary about Burma, about refugee. Picture is like, I can say that it's like bullet, like a gun. You just shut up and shoot.
Nico's young team members are learning the price of free speech. After crossing back to Thailand, they hear that one of their newly trained village reporters has stepped on a landmine. The camera they gave him was used to record his own death. Meanwhile, Kosai has fought off the cyber attack.
We also have to some kind of thanks to the hackers of our site, because it alert us and it warns us that we have to do more things. We have to prepare well and protecting our website.
I think at least 2 million satellite receiver throughout Burma. People in Burma, they like football. Betting is very popular among the ordinary people. That is the one factor people buy net satellite receiver.
Mizzima So in Myanmar, I'm a lawyer student. Because when I'm still in Myanmar, I live in, I don't know especially what's happening between the inside the Myanmar, inside the we don't know, because the government, they always hiding the truth. But I know that when I became prisoner, I cannot come back anymore. It's very problems for me, especially maybe my families are like that. But I don't afraid, because I decided already. That's right.
Back at the Burma Issues office, the video team looks at their footage for the first time. Inside Burma, the struggle to get the story out continues.
When I just get back to my home, I feel only safe but not free, and also I have to move around. And I met with my colleague, also working for Mizzima inside Burma, and we have to take care. I'm not free for talking with him. I feel like somebody watching us or somebody tracking us or something. So I feel not safe. I'm not safe and I'm not free. I might be surely in prison if I get caught.
When you see the editorial meetings in our office, since the morning we started chatting with people inside through the Gmail and Gtalk. and they will start to giving you tips of the day, what they're going to follow from inside. Very risky anyway for them. It's two heads, sometimes fight. I'm very proud to be called reporter or journalist. That's a profession. I love it. When you do a soul searching, I think you come to realize that without that Burma background, without that student activist background, I think I wouldn't be too strong. Today I will be quite weak. My commitment, my devotion, my dedication to this journalism, independent journalism. And there's I think sometimes a struggle. But finally I think the professionalism and the profession always wins. And we stick to our mission of seeking for the truth. It could be quite evasive, quite elusive, the truth.
In a way, you could say that journalists are not advocates for anything except truth, except or as close as you can get to it. Our main, a journalist's main advocacy is for the flow of information so that people can decide on their own what's best for them, what's best for their society.
We had one of the freest press in Southeast Asia in 1950s, 1940s. And I think that could be restored. I'm not saying that will be very easy. It still will be a long journey. But it is already started.
If we will go back to the country once the situation is allowed us. But we are not going to compromise on our standard of journalism and our belief in journalism. We will fight for the media freedom. They cannot stop us.